All right, so we are going to make a little Valentine's maze game. Now, I've started out with you can use whatever. Basically, this is like Romeo, the dude that's going to be moving through the maze, and this is his lovely lady. All I did was I in this case took this one and I recolored it and added some eyebrows and stuff, eyelashes, and then made the female. I also have an envelope that he's going to get halfway through, and then he's going to have to take this to her. That's basically my goal. Now, you can have anything. One thing leading to another could lead to a house. I don't care. It doesn't really matter. But then he's going to end. There is going to be something to be picked up. Maybe this could be chocolate. Maybe this could be a flower. Who knows? Probably depends on what your other characters are. So have a little fun with this. Now, for starters, I do not want these to actually be here because we're going to have kind of a intro screen, title screen, something like that. So, first thing I'm going to do with all of these is I'm going to put in a when flag is clicked, my favorite way to start. And in this case, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have them all hide. So, when flag is clicked, hide. So, I want all three of those hidden. So, any case, the easiest way to copy this is to just take it and put it into, let's see, it's on that one. So put it into the female one and put it into the envelope. And now all three of those should have the when flag is clicked. So watch what happens when I click the flag. Boom, they're all gone. They're all hidden there. So my first backdrop, I'm going to have just a little title screen type thing. So we're already in the back. Well, actually over here now I'm in the backdrops. And I'm going to go to this first backdrop right here. And I'm going to give it a background. Now, to give something a background, you can't just fill. It's not going to work because it needs something to fill. So choose a color. And I don't know. Let's just do this one. So choose a color. And then I just like to get a rectangle. And I click way outside the box. I fill everything because that will definitely fill everything. I make it extra big. So that just gives it a background. Then we're going to type some stuff in there. Now, you can type whatever you want, but I'm just going to do kind of a little instructional thing. So, all right, so here's what we have so far. And again, you can do whatever. Now, I'm going to put a button in here as a starter. So I'm going to go to choose a sprite, and there are a few buttons right here. So whichever one you want, I'm going to use this one. And on this button, so first one, I'm going to put it right here. It's going to be like a click here to start type thing. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Let's make it 150. And well, we need better color in here. So in costumes, we've got these. So I'm just going to make it pretty simple here. I'm just going to fill it with red. There we go. And I could, let's see, I can get a little lighter pink or something like that, or lighter red for the other part. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to go for that. You can make yours better. And now for text, I am going to have something along the lines of click here to start. Okay, so click to start, and let's go to the coding. So for that sprite, that one does need to be a sprite because we're going to have a little coding on there. And here is basically what I'm going to have. I always, again, start with this. I know it's not going to move, but I still like to have that. So that's where it is going to be. And then we have in events, when this sprite is clicked, we are simply going to go to a new background. Now, you can't go to a new background unless you have a new background. So that is the next thing I'm going to need is a new backdrop. Now, here is my old backdrop. I need a new backdrop. So I'm going to do a very basic, I'm going to be painting a backdrop. This is going to be my maze. So just a second, right now, I'm just going to, I'm actually going to rename it backdrop and call it maze. Whoops. Maze. Now, again, you don't have to, it's also the second backdrop. So in any case, let's go back to the coding. And when this sprite is clicked in looks, I'm going to say switch backdrop to maze. Now, here's the deal. If I say switch backdrop to maze, that gets me thinking, wait, as soon as I'm done, it's going to start on the maze. So I want to make sure at the very beginning, it's on the first backdrop. So at the beginning, which is when they click the flag, I'm going to make sure it's on backdrop 1. And I could have renamed that, but I didn't. So this way, somebody clicks on that, it'll go to the maze backdrop, which actually it's on right now anyway. So let's get the maze backdrop going. So for the maze backdrop, I am going to have these crabs, well, they're going to show up. So in fact, let's make sure they show up. How about that? So first thing we're going to have here is when backdrop switches to maze. Okay, so when backdrop switches to maze, we want them to show. So here's our looks and show. So we're going to have them show. And I'm going to do the same thing with all three. So once again, let's do a little copying. That's the female. So let's put it on the male. And let's put it on the envelope. So they will all be there. And just want to spread it out here a little bit. Boom, boom, boom. Yes, and there we go. So it's all there. In fact, watch what happens when I click on this, actually. Everything shows up. Now, one other thing needs to happen. This click to start is not good there, so we want it to disappear. So last thing I want here is when backdrop switches to back to maze. So when it's on maze, I want this to hide. And every time I put in a hide, I also need a show, because at the beginning, yeah, you want it there. So we want it there. So at the very beginning, all those things will be hidden. As soon as I click on start, this should hide. The other ones should show. Boom, there we go. All right, so we have a good start. Now, I just kind of need to think about how I'm going to set this up. I am going to have this guy down in the corner here. I'm not exactly sure where this is going to be, but I'm going to say something like this for right now. And I'm going to have her up in this corner. And basically, I'm going to be making a maze around them. So for now, that'll be good. Now, because I do know that he's going to be there, I am going to right away go to him. And I'm going to make sure he starts in the right place. So I could put this on either one of these, but I'm going to take my go-to, very important here. And I like it at the beginning, so I'm just going to put it at the beginning. And it doesn't matter, he's going to be hidden, but he will still be there. And let's go to the female. And by the way, yes, females, you can also deliver the Valentines to the males, so that's okay too. Or any of the above, so who knows. Where are we? Oh, yes, female, and I like where she is there, so I'm going to put in that. And all right, like it. So now comes down to the actual maze. So going to the backdrops and make sure I am on the maze one. And basically I'm going to be using some lines to make this. Now, I would recommend using a single color of line. Because you're going to be sensing those things. So if you use multiple colors, you have to do multiple sensing. So I am going to do a single color of line. So basically something along these lines. Outline. And by the way, you could just totally draw this maze too. You could draw it. You could do shapes and fill them. I'm just going to use lines in my case. So I'm going to turn up the brightness, turn up the saturation. And I figure, let's see, what am I going to use for crabs? Yeah, I don't know why. I'm going to use a blue. I like blue and I haven't used it much on there. So I'm going to use this color blue. And from here, basically you're going to make your maze. So I could take this line and I'm going to realize that line is way too thin, but you can kind of see where it shows up here. And let's make the line thicker, which isn't going to work on that one unless I first select it. Then I could make it thicker. Let's see, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, about 10. Let's see, yeah, that's pretty good. All right, I like the thickness there. Go back to my line, thickness of 10, and basically you can do whatever the heck you want. Now, you got to realize how big your crab is and how big everything else will be. Now, if I want a more detailed maze, you might want to make your crab a little smaller, which you can totally do. And I might end up doing that. So basically, I'm making these lines. You're going to do the same. And I'm going to pause and show you what happens. All right, so I've got my maze. I'm pretty happy with it. You can do a lot more if you make things smaller, but I wanted to make sure I could get him through there. And yes, you can be a lot more detailed if you want. I've seen very small mazes. So in any case, let's actually get it happening now. So gonna go to the crab here. And by the way, I could have done a background color too, just so you know. So go to the crab and go to the coding. So we need to get this guy moving is the first thing. He is actually going to need to move. So for the movement, we are going to use, we could, in fact, why not? We'll use this one where when backdrop switches, he does show there. I don't like using more events than I have to. So I'm going to get into control and we're going to get some if-thens going. Now, to make the if-thens work, we need to make sure it keeps checking for them. So that's where we're going to need a forever loop. So also in control, a forever loop. And he's going to be able to move in any of 4 directions. So I need 4 of these. If then, if then, if then. Now, I guess I could, anyway, I could loop these, or put one inside the other. But this makes the most sense, or it's pretty simple. So, and in all 4 of these, I could have also duplicated, but in any case, I'm going to use sensing, and we're going to use this one. Key space is pressed. I am going to duplicate that one because I'm finally getting smart there. Duplicate, duplicate. Now it is space, and it wouldn't make sense for all these to be space. In fact, we're not going to use space at all. So we are going to use the arrows up, down, left, and right. All right, now, then it's just what are they going to do in those things? So we have the motion, and I really like these. Change Y and change X. Now, really, you're going to need 2 for each one. So hopefully you realize if you want it to go left or right, you're changing the X. But please be careful. You can't have the same thing for both of them because that wouldn't make sense to both go change X by 10. If you're going left, the X actually needs to get smaller. That's going to be your -10. Right is a +10. Then the Y is going to be the up and down. Up is a +10. Down, and by the way, if you haven't figured out, I'm right-clicking to duplicate things. Down is going to be a -10. So with just that, boom, 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 just like that, I now have a crab that, well, if I click on that, he should be able to move. Now, unfortunately, as you can see, he's just going to zip right in between things, and that's a little problem there. But hey, we've got to start somewhere. So we've got that. Now, next thing is we want him to basically do something when he runs into the walls. We've got a couple options here. So let's see. We're going to use this forever loop again and make it a little bit smaller. We're going to use the same forever loop. We might as well. And I'm going to add to it. You know what? Just for the heck of it, I'm not going to use that forever loop. I am going to use another one. So just kind of duplicated all that stuff and get rid of those. So, all right. So just so we can kind of see them side by side, I think is kind of the concept here. So any case, so for this one, we are going to have it checking for the wall. Now, all right, we've got a couple options here. We could keep this real simple and basically say if touching, what am I doing? Totally wrong. I apologize. If touching color, okay, so that's one of the color. Now, to get the right color, I want the color of the wall. So I'm going to click on that color, and I'm going to go down to this eyedropper. Take this eyedropper and got to go right. I like to go right in the middle of the wall to make sure it's right, just the right color. If touching color, then honestly, I think the easiest thing to do is to go back to the exact place it started, which is right here. So I'm going to duplicate that. Now, I don't need the hide, but duplicate that. So right there, just with that, if I now get things going here, when he hits the blue, notice he always goes back to the start. So that's a pretty easy way to do things. Now, if you have a difficult maze where it would kind of be really frustrating if he kept going back to the start, we do have another option, which is basically treat it like walls, where if it runs into something, it kind of, in a way, it just doesn't move. That's a little more difficult, but hey, why not show it? So for that one, first of all, I can't have this stuff going on, so I'm going to disconnect that. And basically what we would do here is if the key arrow up is pressed, it's going to change y by 10, but we want to check if it's touching a color. So I'm going to show you for one of these, and I think you can figure it out for the rest of them. Anyway, we're going to check if it's touching a color. So it's going to be very similar to this. In fact, I'll duplicate this, except for I don't want that. So inside of this, so it's inside of the if-then. Be very careful. So it's an if-then inside of an if-then. So, and basically I'm going to cancel out what it just did is kind of the idea here. In fact, let me use the right one just so you can see it better. So basically so imagine if you're hitting the right arrow key, it changes by 10. Okay, so it moves over to the right. But then it's going to say, if it's touching the blue, we're going to do the opposite of what it did because it'll basically make it seem like it doesn't do anything. So we already have change x by 10. The opposite of change x by 10 is change x by negative 10. So basically, that cancels out to 0. So by me putting that inside the same thing, so it's only going to check for this one inside the right arrow key, then watch what happens. He goes to the right. Now watch when he hits here. Notice, I'm hitting the key right now. He just doesn't go anywhere. So basically, every time it changes by 10 and then negative 10. So it puts it right back into the same spot. So it's like it's running into a wall. Now, if you do this for all of them, then those will act like walls. Rather than right now, I can go through the other ones, but I can't go to the right again. You can never go to the right to do that. But again, you would do that for each one. You'd say if touching color for this one, if touching blue, then change x by a positive 10 on this one. Change y by a positive 10. Change y by a negative 10. Always the opposite. So if you'd like to do that, that would be fine. But again, I made mine simple enough that I think it'll be not too bad with it going back to the beginning. I don't think people get too frustrated. All right, so it's going to go through. Now, the next thing. All right, moving on here. Next thing, he's going to eventually touch the this little mail-y dealy, the Valentines, yes. So when that happens, we need something to happen here. So here is what I'm going to have happen. You could have something different, but I'm going to use this forever loop. I could really use either one. And yes, you guessed it, another if-then. So if, and sensing, this is the one where I want touching, and I want to be touching this. So if it's touching the thing with a horrible name, by the way, I hate this name, and I'm going to change it right now. So right here is the name of it, and that is, I should never have done that. Okay, now it's called Valentine. Much, much better name. So going back to this, because I do not like bad coding like that. So if touching, now we can have Valentine. That makes much more sense. If touching the Valentine, then what I'm going to have it do is a couple things. One, I want the Valentine to kind of disappear. There's a couple ways to do this. I could have the Valentine literally travel the same place as the crab. That can be a little tedious. So I'm going to just put a costume together that has the crab with the Valentine. You could also just have the Valentine disappear, but that's kind of lame in my opinion. So I am going to first have it disappear because you'll see it will make it look like it appears. Now, here is a new thing. It's a broadcast block. So here's broadcast. Now, this is because I want the Valentine to disappear. Actually, you know what? we could use this, but you know what? I'm going to make it even easier. I'll tell you what, we're not going to use the broadcast for that one. We are going to just put this in the Valentine. So, well, you know what? We're going to need a broadcast anyway. So, I'm changing that. Okay, sorry. Well, you just heard what happened in my head here. So, broadcast, message one. Now, message one, first of all, it's not really a message. It's more of a signal. I'm going to come up with a new message, and we're going to call it, I'm also going to call it Valentine. Or Valentine Grab. Make it a little bit more better. So, when broadcast Valentine Grab, now the reason we had to do that is because the Valentine needs to disappear. So, I'm going to go to the Valentine, and the counterpart to the broadcast is a when I receive. So, when I receive Valentine Grab, then the Valentine needs to hide. So I'm going to do another hide. So really, that's all the Valentine's doing is a lot of showing and hiding. So it just hid. So it's hidden. Now, back to the crab. The other thing I wanted to do is I want it to show the crab with the Valentines. So I'm going to go to the costume here. And here's what I'm actually going to do. I need to find that Valentine again. So I'm going to upload the same Valentine that I had before. And I'm going to open it, and there it is. Now, the only reason I just did that is so that I can easily get a copy of it. Let's see. I'm not totally sure. We'll see if I do the copy here. And I'm going to go to the crab. I'm going to duplicate the crab because I don't want to change the first one. And I'm going to paste. So basically, I copied the Valentine onto a duplicate of the crab. Now, right now, it's like smack on the top of the crab. That would not be good. So I'm going to make the Valentine smaller and maybe a lot smaller. And I'm going to put it something like this. Again, it's kind of up to you, but I don't want to make it too big because then we might not be able to get through the maze. So something along those lines. So you may, again, it's just making it look like that, and I could make him get some chocolates or a flour or something, put in the other claw there, but I think this will be good enough for you can get more creative than me anyway. So that is what he's going to look like with the Valentine. All right, now that is Crab A2. I could rename that, but it's not too bad. So I'm going to go back to the code. And this is where he's going to switch costume to, that's that ridiculous one that is not good, Crab A2. Now, if I have the switch costume here, I need to have it at the beginning also because I need him to start as the other crab, which is A. So this way, just to make sure, anytime you have a switch costume or a switch backdrop or something, you need to have something starting it the right way. So, basically, let's kind of see how it is overall so far. So we've got that. Can you help him? Hope so. Click to start. Boom. All right, now we should be able to move him. And if I'm precise, so far, pretty good sizing on everything. And let's see what happens here. Look at it. It looks like he picked it up. That's pretty cool. Now, oh my gosh, can he make it? We might have an issue here, Houston. Yes, we do. He's not going to make it here. So we have a problem. Now, he does have the Valentine. That's all well and good. But I'm going to have to readjust some sizes here. So maybe move a few things over in my background. So wait a sec. All right, I did some adjusting. And there he goes. Grabs it. And I think, if I'm really careful, we've got it. All right, now I need something here because it's like basically, wow, we got there. So we need a little finishing of something. Now, a lot of things we could be doing here, but let's get the finishing done, and then you could decide. You can. I hope you change this a little bit. I really hope you don't make it exactly the same as mine. I want some creativity there. So anyway, stop. And I'm going to do something very similar to what I already have here. And it's going to be if, again, do not let it go inside the other ifs. That will mess things up. You need them separate from each other. Because if not, it only checks, if this if is inside that one, then it only checks this one when the other thing is happening. And that won't be happening. So if, and again, just like before, down to sensing, if touching, and this is going to be touching the other crab, which is called crab, actually, is a female one. So if touching crab, then basically we need to decide. Now, I would say we need to go to a new screen. I will make a new screen and show you what I've got, but hopefully you can come up with something where, I don't know, the crabs are dancing, whatever your thing is, just some kind of a celebration screen of your own. But that's why basically I'm going to need a switch backdrop here to the win, that kind of thing. So let's see what I'm going to come up with. All right, so I'm going to show you what I did. For my background, I ended up doing this, so just a little this, but then I had the crabs move, and I'm gonna have the crabs kind of do a little dance. So one thing I had to do was I'm gonna make the crabs bigger. So I had the little crabs, but I used this to change the size before, and if you want them to change in the actual program, that wouldn't work. So I had to add a size. So at the beginning here, I said set size to 45%. At least that was for the this one. The other one's on 50%. And I also said point and direction because I'm going to have them turning and stuff like that. Now, so then I basically said, okay, when they're touching, it's going to switch the backdrop to this win one. And when the backdrop switches, that's this thing right here. When backdrop switches to win, it's going to do a lot of stuff. And you can look at this and everything. But here's what it looks like. So we start this, boom, 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 and we've got this. Okay, so I'm getting quick at it now. That's the hardest part right there. And then ready, here we go. Okay, now I need to do something with her. Now you'll see how it's just keeps going, and you even, I don't know if you can hear it, but it sounds really off. The problem is, and this is the debugging thing. So, okay, first problem was she wasn't facing the right direction. So I'm going to go to this one, and the problem is I need a point in direction at the beginning. Also a wonderful thing to start out with because that means it will start in the right direction. There's problem number one. Problem number two is this. It has if touching crab, then switch backdrop, but it will keep touching because they keep hitting each other. And then it starts it over again where it does the backdrop. It kind of switches the backdrop again. So it just keeps on getting into a loop here, and so it just keeps going in circles and starting over. That's where I'm going to go to control, and there is at the bottom of control a stop all. Now, I don't really want it to stop all, but I do want it to stop this script, so I don't need to use this stuff anymore. So I'm going to make stop this script. Now let's see if it works. I think we're going to be closer. So, okay, she's facing the right direction. That's good. So we're going to go get the Valentines. I also had him change back to his other costume where he doesn't have the Valentine, but that was just me. Here we go. Now we got something. So they did a little dance. How about that? And you can do a lot of, you can look at what I did. Basically, I kind of had them do exactly the same thing, but just kind of in reverse, turning different directions, that kind of thing. But I hope you are creative on some way to end this. And yeah, I could give this as a Valentine to my wife or my daughter or something like that. Just kind of a little sweetie thing, that kind of thing. And fact is, I'm sure any parents would love something like this. So there you go. And I hope you enjoy making this. And I hope you really are creative about what you do to make it yours. All right.